pals. I'm here today to talk about some books that I have recently bought myself or been kindly sent from publishers. I mostly do library book hauls now because I don't acquire many books that I'm going to be keeping, and I tend to try and read my older books or read books from the library. But I have accumulated these books in the past couple of months, most of them in the past couple of weeks, and so I thought, why not have a chat about them? I think there's around 10 or 11, so not too many that I'm going to get overwhelmed, which is good for me at the moment. That's where I want to be. Johnny said to me the other day, if you could have £1,000 to spend on board games or books, what would you choose? And in a heartbeat, I knew it would be board games. Reason being twofold, actually threefold. Firstly, board games are way more expensive, so yes, you could get less board games than you could books, but you know, sometimes they cost quite a bit of money, so that would be really cool to be able to spend £1,000 on them. Secondly, you know, I can go to the library and buy borrowed books for free. I can't do that for board games. But thirdly, I would be overwhelmed with that many books on my TBR. I'm no longer somebody who loves having loads and loads of books on my TBR. Not into it. And so yeah, for the first time in my life, I've realised that if I was given an option of spending money on books or something else, in all likelihood, I would pick the other thing, at least if it's something I like. So, anyway, these books I have are, the first one, this is the only non-fiction, and I bought myself this one. I did on pre-order. That's my washing machine just beeping, sorry if you heard that. And that is Girlhood by Melissa Febos, I'm not quite sure how you say that. I mentioned this in a recent sort of anticipated memoirs / personal essay collections that I'm excited about, which I'll link above. And this is a personal essay collection. And I think this author has written, I think Whip Smart is a memoir, and I think Abandon Me, I'm not sure if that's also a collection of essays or if that might be a novel. I need to have a look. But I know Whip Smart, I think, is about her work in BDSM, I'm pretty sure. So I think this one, well, it says, blending investigative reporting, memoir and scholarship, Febos charts how she and others like her have reimagined relationships and made room for the anger, grief, power and pleasure women have long been taught to deny. Written with Febos' characteristic precision, lyricism and insight, Girlhood is an anthem for women and a searing study of the transitions into and away from girlhood towards a chosen self. So I think I could absolutely adore this one, and I'm definitely going to try and read this one this month. Then I have 4 more that I bought myself, and they're all novels, yes they are. And this first one, I'm pretty sure most people who read books have just got hold of, and that is Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. So I also had this one on pre-order. As we know, it's Sally Rooney's newest novel. It's about a group of friends. I have been stopping myself watching any reviews because I just don't really want to know much about the plot. I also don't want to know people's opinions, and I've also been stopping myself from reading it yet because I really want to pick it up. But we're reading this for my Patreon book club this month, and I'm doing a live show on Saturday the 2nd of October, I think it's 8 PM GMT, in case you're interested. And so I want to read this closer to the time, so it's like more fresh in my mind. So I'm making myself sort of wait until the last week of the month to read this, which is turning out to be quite difficult, but I've got plenty of other books to keep me occupied. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking about this one. If you don't know, usually my tier 2 on Patreon, it's $5, and usually I let my patrons vote between 2 books and then I do a spoilery reading vlog. But this month I decided to choose this one myself because I figured lots of people would be reading it, and to do a live show, which I haven't ever done before, like by myself for a book club. So I'm quite nervous, but I feel like that's the way I'd like the Patreon to go, because I feel like that's more, well, there's just more room for dialogue and chat with my patrons. So I'm very much looking forward to it. Also a little bit nervous, but I'm very excited to read this one, as I'm sure many people are. And it's been very beautifully published. I really like even the back's really cool, and under the dust jacket's pretty cool as well. So very nice. I'm very excited. And then these next 3 are all quite different to one another. The first being The Feast by Margaret Kennedy. I saw Simon haul this one maybe, I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks ago. What is time anymore? I've lost track of it. And I really like the sound of it. I used to read a lot more books that were published around this time period, which I think, yeah, 1950 this was first published. And yeah, I used to read more books that were published around this time and really enjoy them, and it's something I've fallen out of habit of, but I particularly like reading books published around this time in the autumn and the winter period. I just think, regardless of what season they're set in, they have a real sort of cosy, nostalgic feel for me, which is something I really enjoy reading about in the autumn and the winter. So this is about a hotel in Cornwall, yes, in midsummer, and a hotel gets buried under a landslide down the side of a cliff. And then I think you go back in time to the week before the landslide and you meet all the hotel guests, and you sort of find about all the gossip surrounding them and how they're all drawn to this hotel, why they're there, and then you're not sure which ones have survived the landslide. And I guess it allows this mystery of you starting to think, oh, I hope that person survived, or like, why would that person have been there? And I think that sounds really cosy and wonderful, and this is getting a lot of buzz. This has been republished and I've heard lots of really positive things about it, so very excited to read this one. I think I will, even though it's midsummer, maybe I should try and read it this month before it gets too cool. We shall see. I'm not quite sure. What do you think I should do? And then these next two books I've been wanting to pick up like all year. I'm really convinced I could love both of these. And I've been putting off picking them up because I have so many books on hold at the library that just kept coming in, and also lots of books that I was also trying to read off my backlist and things like that. And anyway, I've decided to give in. It's getting closer towards the end of the year. I want to read them this year. I'm really excited. I feel like both of them could make it to my favourites of the year, so I caved. So this one I had to order online because it's not actually been published in the UK, and that is the absolutely beautiful Butter Honey Pig Bread by Francesca Ekwuyasi. And this is actually a Canadian publication, and I've heard really positive reviews about this one. In particular, I saw Rincey's review over at Rincey Reads, which I'll link above, and the way Rincey described this just made me think this is going to be the sort of perfect book for me in terms of writing style. So it says, in sensuous mythic prose, this sweeping debut novel tells the interwoven stories of three Nigerian women. It follows a woman and her twin daughters. It says that it is an intergenerational tale of choices and their consequences, of motherhood, of the malleable line between the spirit and the mind, of finding new homes and mending old ones, of voracious appetites, of queer love, of friendship, faith, and above all, family. So yeah, and I think this is set across Montreal and Lagos, so I think that'll be pretty intriguing. And I mean, how can you not want a book with that title and that cover? It's absolutely stunning, so can't wait to read this one. And it just feels really beautifully published. It's been published by Arsenal Pulp Press, and I actually think they're a really interesting indie publisher in Canada. They publish really interesting sounding books, and they always publish them very, very well, so definitely check them out if you haven't heard of them before. And then the next one I've been wanting to pick up since it came out in hardback, and I've heard a few people talk about it, but not as many as I thought I would. And then the other day I was in Waterstones and I went up to the cafe because I had to sort of kill a bit of time, and I thought I'll just get a latte and I'll just sit here with my book and wait. And I noticed that this has made their book club selection, and that means that if you buy it, your hot drink is free. So I was like, I mean, of course I have to buy it. And that is Betty by Tiffany McDaniel. So I absolutely love the sound of this one. And when I saw the paperback version, I was just like, I have to have this. I think this is a stunning paperback version. And this also has, I think, oh yeah, this is a sticker. I haven't taken it off yet, that's awful, definitely will take that off. But the sticker is telling you that this is an exclusive edition to Waterstones, and it has bonus content, which is, well, it's lots of photos, because, so, let me explain. This is inspired by Tiffany McDaniel's own mother, who was born in a bathtub in 1954 to a white mother and a Cherokee father. Betty inhabits a world of poverty and loss, of lush landscapes and blazing stars. And so at the back there's lots of photos of Betty and her family, and there's like an interview with the author and all extra content, which is very exciting. And I love a coming of age story about girls, as you probably know, and I also love family dramas, and this is a pretty chunky book, so pretty small text, and this is around 460 pages, so yeah, I feel like I could really get lost in this one and really love it. So there is that one. So those are all the books I bought myself. These are now the stack of books that I've kindly been sent from the publishers. This first one is a finished copy of Palace of the Drowned by Christine Mangan. This author had a book called Tangerine that came out a couple of years ago, which was compared to books like Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. It's sort of a book set in around, I think, the 1940s, and it had that feel of the Gothic whilst being set in, I think, Morocco, but it was quite twisty-turny, and yes, definitely had a Gothic edge, which I think is what this one will have as well. So this is set in Venice. I think, again, this is going to be set, I'm not quite sure, oh yes, 1966, set against the catastrophic flooding of Venice. And we follow an author who goes to stay in Venice during the winter. She had a really successful first novel. She's really struggling to write her second novel. Her editor's really having a go at her. She's got this sort of messy relationship with her best friend, so things are sort of really starting to fall down around her. And then this young woman comes to where she's staying and insinuates herself into this author's life, and things get a little bit twisted from there. So yeah, I am intrigued, and I think this one will be a really fun sort of Gothic autumnal read, so I'll be picking this one up rather soon. And then this next one is Other People's Clothes by Calla Henkel. I think this is a pretty cool cover and title. This one is set in 2009 in Berlin, and actually this one sounds a little bit similar to Palace of the Drowned in theme, in that we're following two students who are from New York, and they have gone to stay in Berlin, and they're renting an apartment, and the person they're renting off is someone who was a really successful crime writer, and they start to believe that somebody's watching them in the apartment, and they convince themselves that maybe this crime writer is watching them and trying to find inspiration for like her next novel. And so they start to like live their life in a certain way, like artistically, because they think she's being inspired by them, and things get a little bit weird and twisted, which I think that sounds really intriguing. And yeah, they both seem to have links with like writers and obsession and things like that, so these could be an interesting pairing. And then I was kindly sent a couple of translated books. Both of these sound really good. And this first one is Island by Siri, Ranva, Hjelm, Jacobsen. This is published by Pushkin Press, and it's translated from the Danish by Carolyn Waite. And this is set on the Faroe Islands, which is somewhere I would absolutely love to go. In terms of landscape, I think it is absolutely beautiful. But I also think that as a vegan, I'd probably really struggle to eat there. So, I don't know. Have you been? Let me know what your thoughts on that. So yeah, we follow a family who, a young woman is sort of pulled back to the island because of sort of family history, and we follow this family over a few generations and find about how their sort of stories really intertwine with the area. And yeah, I love stories about families, have you realised, based on quite a few of these books, and I'm really drawn to books that are set in locations that I am interested in, so I feel like this could be a really good one. And this next one is also from Pushkin Press. They're really great at translated books, so go and check them out if you haven't already. And that is Falling is Like Flying by Manon Uphoff. This is translated from the Dutch by Sam Garrett. And I think this is a memoir, but in quite an interesting form. So I think I said I had no non-fiction other than Girlhood. I do. This is a non-fiction. It says that after the author's sister died at the age of 69, she started to reflect back on her past. Her father was a very abusive man, and she starts to retell the story of that abuse, but in like a mythical way. So I think she describes her father as a minotaur, and like she uses allegory to sort of tell the story of the abuse that was happening. So I think this is going to be quite an interesting one. And it says it brings a tale of silent trauma to a triumphant, raucous conclusion. So I think, yeah, it'll be a difficult read, but an interesting one. So, and also there's a very beautiful cover. I really like that one. And then these last two aren't published until next year, which seems crazy, but I guess it's that time of year when publishers are starting to send books out for next year. And the first one is a sort of Gothic historical fiction, which I love, and like I said, really like reading these sort of books in the autumn and winter. And that is Hare House by Sally Hinchcliffe. And I really like this cover. I'm pretty sure the finished copy will look like this, but obviously probably much prettier. So this is set in Scotland, which I love. This woman goes to Scotland. She moves into a cottage on the remote estate of Hare House but Hare House is hiding something sinister, and as winter draws in, with snow falling soft and heavy, its dark history of grief and madness begin to emerge. I mean, that's very little information, but I want to read it. It's set in Scotland during winter on an old country estate, and it's gothic. Of course I want to read it, so very excited about that one. And I feel like that will probably be quite a big release because there's been quite a lot of success in the last few years with books of that nature, of that ilk, and so I'm sure lots of people will pick that one up. And then lastly, the author of this book actually reached out to me and asked if I would like to be sent a copy of this, which I usually don't accept books directly from the author because I think it's super cringe if you don't like it and you have to be like, here's the review, and it's their book, like, can't be dealing with that. But I have read this author's short story collection, which was called Where We Go When All We Were Is Gone, a couple of years ago, and I really enjoyed it. And I think the author saw the review, so he reached out to me about his novel, and I was like, definitely want to read it, it sounds amazing. And that is How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu. I think that is a brilliant cover and title. And this sounds phenomenal. I don't usually read books the year before they're published. Even this is published in January, I just tend to wait until the January, but I don't know if I'll be able to for this one. This ticks a lot of boxes for me. So it's set in 2030 and we follow a group of people, one of them who is a grieving archaeologist who goes to the Arctic Circle, where researchers are studying long-buried secrets now revealed in melting permafrost, including the perfectly preserved remains of a girl who appears to have died of an ancient virus. That virus is then unleashed, and then we follow lots of people as that happens. It says, from funerary skyscrapers to hotels for the dead to interstellar starships, Sequoia Nagamatsu takes readers on a wildly original and compassionate journey with a story about the resilience of the human spirit, our infinite capacity to dream, and the connective threads that tie us all together in the universe. So yeah, and like there's a list of all the people this follows, and yeah, it sounds great. You follow a theme park designed for terminally ill children, a heartbroken scientist searching for a cure, who finds a second chance at fatherhood when one of his test subjects, a pig, develops the capacity for human speech, and a widowed painter and a teenage granddaughter who embark on a cosmic quest to locate a new home planet. That sounds brilliant, doesn't it? So yeah, I think I will have to pick this one up before the end of the year. So there we go. Those are all the books I have either picked up or kindly been sent recently. Let me know if you have any of these on your list, or if you like the sound of them, and if you've read them before. I'd also like to know down below. I hope you're having a good week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.